was in the 5 a.m. club this morning. Clap for me. I made it to the 5 a.m. club. You guys know it's not even a 50-50 for me. Most days I'm in the 6:30 or the 7 a.m. club, but I did get up at 5:04 a.m. 5:04. I thought about 5:04 because that's isn't that the area code of New Orleans? And my friend D1, he's a great rapper out of New Orleans, and he has this song that says, "Y'all ain't ready for that 5:04." So apparently the 5:04 is a source of pride, and shout out to everybody from the 5:04 because I got up at 5:04 this morning. So one of the things I thought I would do is I thought I'd pull up a book I wrote when I was on the faculty of Syracuse University called Financial Lovemaking. And this book, Financial Lovemaking, which if you want to copy, it's at drboycebooks.com. In this book, I talk about that. I talk about being a shopaholic and signs that you might actually be one, because a lot of people don't know that you can have addictions to money and to shopping the same way you can be addicted to crack, the same way you could be addicted to sex, the same way you could be addicted to gambling, the same way you could be addicted to alcohol, the same way you could be addicted to anything, you can be addicted to money. Money affects your brain the same way as a drug. Shout out to Professor Andrew Lowe at MIT, whose research dug into this issue in terms of what region of the brain it specifically affects. So it affects the same region of your brain as cocaine. So addictions are very real. Addictions are everywhere. And so shopping addiction is a very real thing, and also gambling addiction. That's another type of addiction in terms of financial psychology that you want to be really careful about. You want to warn your sons in particular, because now they've legalized sports gambling, and which I think is just terrible. I wish they hadn't done that, because now they're really encouraging young guys to dig into gambling. And I say young guys because they don't really aim for young women as much, because young women are not as susceptible to sports betting. But the young guys, I think, like between the ages of 22 and 36, oh, you're toast. Because the thing is, when you're young, I guess the testosterone, we think we're invincible. We think nothing bad can happen until it happens. Until you're making 60,000 a year and you got $400,000 in debt, and you're trying to figure out how to fix it. And that's a hard thing to fix. It's much easier to prevent a financial problem than it is to fix one. So write that down in your head. I mean, it's much easier to prevent a problem than it is to fix it. So just remember that. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So anyway, so what I thought I would do is dig into some of these signs. Like, how do you know if you're a shopaholic? In fact, give me a guess if you feel like you've ever seen anybody who was a shopaholic or a spendaholic. Give me a guess if maybe it was you, maybe it was you. Give me a guess if you've ever seen anything where you say, gosh, that almost seems like an addiction. That doesn't seem healthy. Something's wrong with that. Give me a guess if you've ever seen anybody in that category. Um, and so yeah, I think it's pretty common, right? It's kind of a big deal. In fact, in America, we have a big problem with spending. They love consumer spending. They love watching consumers spend, because consumer spending actually drives the economy. That's how rich people stay rich. That's how the economy keeps roaring. Is they pretty much just have Americans addicted to consuming things from an early age. So anyway, so let me pull this up. All right, so let me see here. All right, so one other thing, let me see. I'm trying to think what else is going on. I know also Cody Ransom is teaching a Black Wall Street class. If you want to join that class on the true history of Black Wall Street, you can go to b1wallstreet.com, be the number one wallstreet.com. Feel free to take a look at that. I'm a believer that we shouldn't have slavery or anything like slavery or taught to us by slave masters. I don't think slave masters are the best people to teach slavery to people who used to be enslaved. And so so it's not just true for slavery. It's true for anything related to Black history. I think Black history, and really anything about that comes down to like how to be Black, what Black people are supposed to do. I just don't think that it's healthy for us to have other people teaching us that. I think we should be teaching that to ourselves. So we actually have our own educational institution. We've been doing this for many years, and we teach kids about wealth. We have the Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program, where our kids, we have 9-year-olds who know wealth better than most adults. It's not very hard to do, because if you focus on some basic ideas at an early age, you'd be amazed at what a difference that makes in the life of the child. And also, I want you to remember that the idea of being financially sound is not just about having money. It's about giving you protection in the areas that money cannot buy. It's all the stuff that doesn't have to do with money. Money is kind of a protector that can either inhibit your ability to enjoy your life, or it can accelerate your ability to enjoy your life. Let me know if you get what I'm saying here. Money doesn't really buy happiness, but it's very, very hard to find happiness without money. Let me say that again. Money doesn't buy happiness. Money can't, there's no store you can go to and buy happiness unless it's like a crack house. Maybe you can buy temporary happiness in a crack house. But for the most part, that you can't buy happiness, at least long-term happiness with money. But what money can do is it can take away your ability to pursue happiness if you don't have what you need. Do you understand? So this is what it's all about. It's about when I really consistently talk to you about us building that capital base for the children, you're really keeping the children out of slavery. You're really protecting them from slavery because when the kids get to be 25 and they don't have any money, the only option they have is they have to go and get a job, and chances are when they get a job they have to work for someone who doesn't look like them, and then they get mistreated and abused and disrespected, and then they come home and they're crying every day and they're really sad and their lives suck. Well, why do most people's lives suck? Well, a lot of it has to do with the job that they do. It's the people they work with. That's the biggest stressor. And I think what happens is that they get us distracted. They'll tell us about some person every time there's an election. They'll pick one person who got shot by a cop, and then they'll tell everybody, if you go out your door, a cop's going to shoot you. And I don't know a lot of people. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know a lot of people who've been shot by cops. I don't. I really don't. I know it happens for sure. I knew cops growing up. My dad was a cop. My dad had to shoot somebody. He shot a white guy actually. He had to kill him. And he was protecting people, and they sent him thank you notes and everything because this guy was a real menace in his neighborhood. But I didn't. But I know many people who got shot by cops. But what I do know, here's what I do know. I know a lot of brothers who've been shot by other black men. I do know that. That's just my experience. I also know a lot of black people who hate their jobs. I know a lot of black folks every day. In fact, raise your hand if you've ever been on a job where you were disrespected. Let me know. Give me a yes if you've ever been in a situation that was just painful and stressful and irritating and made you mad and made you want to jump across your desk and beat the hell out of your boss and made you not want to come to work no more, or made you just downright sad. I know that a lot. I've seen that a lot, right? So in my view, if you're talking about really solving problems, um, my thought is like, why not solve problems by starting where the biggest problem exists? To me, that's very logical. It's very logical to say, if I'm going to solve a problem, I'm going to focus on what your biggest issue is, and I'm going to help you solve that. I'm going to help you fix that. Right. So I would just tell you that I don't think being shot by a cop is the biggest problem that most black people have. I'm not saying it's not important. I've talked to you. I've worked on criminal justice initiatives. I told you about what Russell Simmons and I did, where we pushed the Obama administration to change their incarceration policies. I believe in that 100%. I've talked to you extensively about things like the Biden crime bill and how many people went to prison and nobody, a lot of those people are still locked up, how it disrupted and destroyed the black family and therefore taking away trillions of dollars in wealth from the black community because it's almost impossible to build wealth without family. Every study shows this. I'm in complete alignment with you, right? So I'm not going to sit around and pretend like a police shooting is a good thing or that these are not issues. But what I am saying is that I think that if you're talking about fixing your life, that's it. Ayanna Van Zant style. If you're talking about quality of life, that's it. That's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at your life and I'm saying each day, what are you doing every day, and how do you feel about that? And if you don't like that part of your life, then I say fix it. So when I think about quality of life, I think the best way to give your child a better quality of life is to put them in a position where they don't have to go beg for a job from their oppressor. I think that would be a type of liberation and freedom that would make them very proud. It would make them very strong. It would make them it would give them access to a lot of happiness and freedom and all these other things that we talk about that sometimes we don't know anything about. I mean, you can't, sometimes we fight for freedom in a cage. Like we fight for freedom by demanding a nicer cage. Give me a better black job. I need you to give me more black jobs. I don't want to, I don't even want to, I don't want a black job. I mean, maybe like if I was in the NBA or something, that I might take that black job, but I don't want a black job. I want a black owned business because when you have a black owned business, you get to decide what jobs are going to be the black jobs, which jobs are going to be the white jobs, who's going to get the most opportunity. You don't become a person seeking an opportunity. You transition into a person who creates an opportunity. Do you understand? Like we shouldn't be teaching our kids to go get a job. We should be teaching our kids how to create a job. That's what financial consciousness is all about. Consciousness is leveling up. It's where you say, okay, I'm not going to operate on this level because I'm not winning on this level. Let me go to a higher level. And if you're not winning on that level, you go to the next level. And each time you notch up a level, you have a little more power. You have a little more perspective. You're higher in the sky. When you're in an airplane, you can see the landscape a lot better than you can if you're in a car. You understand? So you got to level up. We must level up our thinking. That's extremely important. And in fact, actually, I promise I'm gonna get to the shopaholic topic. I know that was what I started with, but y'all know me. I just stream of consciousness. Just bear with me. Um, But I was even thinking about today, like with my wife, we went to breakfast today, and I decided to take her to breakfast because, I don't know, I want to spend time with my wife and everything. And I was just telling her, I told her how much I admired her, and I told her how much I really just admire, like, just how pretty she is. I said, you were the prettiest thing I ever saw, and I was telling her that my theory, I said, when I got married to you, I would have some people ask me, like women would say, well, what was it about her that made her different? Like, why were you willing to settle down and marry her? Because I wasn't in a rush to get married. I didn't feel like I had to get married. That wasn't something I feel like you should do whatever you want to do in life. I really believe that. But I wanted to marry her. And they were like, so what was the difference? And I said, I think it was that number one, I thought she was amazing, most beautiful thing ever. And also the other thing too is like I don't understand when guys get intimidated when women are doing well and they're really smart and are successful. That accelerates you. That should help you. You should see that as an asset, not as a liability. She's not your competitor. She's your spouse. She's your partner, right? So that was one part of it. But then I said, one of the biggest things that made me really love you is the fact that you really love me. I admired you partly because you admired me. And I said I don't think a lot of people think about that enough. They don't think about this. They don't understand how self-esteem plays a very big part in the universe giving you what you deserve. Self-esteem is really important. And so let me give you an example to make it more concrete because I'm trying to get this thought out of my brain and into my voice so you can hear it and see it and hear where I'm coming from. But anyway, so I said, like I've seen men who will say, I want to date the most beautiful woman I can find. But they don't even consider, like, well, does that woman also consider you to be a catch? Like, you've decided she's the prize, but does she see you as the prize? Because if she doesn't see you as the prize, then maybe that should affect whether you see her as the prize. Because what happens, I've noticed, is that people tend to fight for the things that they value. Like people tend to sacrifice to keep the things that they really want to have, right? Like for example, I told my wife, I said, like this, the waiter came back and he saw the half a pancake sitting on the table and he was going to pick it up, and I said, no, 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 you give me some time. I want that pancake, right? I said, now if I didn't want that pancake, I would have just gave it up. I would have said, here you go. So what happens sometimes is you'll see sometimes like in relationships where because she's a relationship therapist, and I remember sometimes she might say, yeah, she say, yeah, sometimes I have a client where the husband doesn't even want to come to therapy and he'll just be out in the streets doing whatever, and the wife will be in there like wanting to talk it out and figure it out, and he doesn't even care. And I said, it's because he don't really want her like that. Like I said, a man that really wants you is going to sacrifice for you. That's what I just really believe. Or a woman that really wants you is going to sacrifice for you. And it's not just true for men and women and male-female relationships. It's really true for everything. Even if you think about like a job, there's a difference between, tell me if you're following this. If you work for a company that values you, what are they going to do? They're going to pay you well. They're going to be flexible with your schedule. They're going to give you days off when you need them. They're going to give you promotional opportunities. They're going to find out how you're doing. The boss was going to know the names of your kids, right? Do you see what I mean? Like that to me is a great experience. But think about this. So there's different types of ways you go search for a job. Some people search for a job and they say, I want the job that pays me the most money. That's it. Or I want the job that's the most prestigious. And they don't even factor in, well, how are they going to treat you? What are they going to do for your quality of life? If I get a job that's super prestigious and pays me lots of money and they treat me like crap, they stress me out, I'm not sleeping, my blood pressure's up, I'm drinking myself to sleep every night because I'm under so much stress. Well, that ain't the right job for me. That's not the right place for me to be. I'm not supposed to be here. And what tends to happen is when we get more mature and you get past that self-esteem issue that you had when you were young, where somehow you felt the need to be in this space because maybe it validated you, right? You're young and you're like, I want to go work for the White House so I can tell my friends I work with the president, or I want to go get this job so I can tell my friends how much money I made. Then eventually you get to the point where you're like, I don't need that anymore. I don't need a fancy title. I don't need necessarily a ton of money. I just want to be happy. I want to be in a place that values me. So your job criteria, your search criteria changes as you start to accept and respect the idea that you're a whole human being who should be making a decision based on multiple variables and not just one. Do you understand? So I told my wife, so this was we were talking about relationships at that time, but I think this applies to everything because remember, your problem with racism as black people, I would believe is that you're in an abusive marriage with white America. That's what you are. You're in an abusive relationship where your partner tells you they love you and but they might punch you in the face every now and then and pee on you or something, R. Kelly style. And you stand there and you accept it because you somehow feel that nobody else is going to want you. And that's what happens. This is what this is how the politicians they get the votes. This is how they get us to give them all our money and all that because it's a self-esteem thing, right? And I told my wife, I said, you know what? I said, part of the reason I love you so much is because of how much you love me. And part of the reason that I wanted to be with you so much is because I could tell you wanted to be with me and you wanted a man like me, which that right there told me, oh, this woman got good taste. Right? She got good taste. Now this was genetic. Her father was a professor like me. So she has this thing. We tend to marry our parents. There's books, there's whole psychology theories about that. This is where the whole broken families problem really emerges, right? When you look at the fact that 76% of all black children don't have a father in the home, and a lot of young children don't have a good relationship with their father, this really shows itself in dating choices and why certain guys might end up as the fathers of your kids and all that. It all requires therapy. It's a deep conversation. But still though, I told that's what I explained to her. I said, I think that we underestimate the importance of self-esteem and self-respect when forming relationships, whether they are economic relationships, whether they are romantic relationships, professional relationships, any kind of relationship. I believe that you should never in your life spend time or energy on anyone or anything that does not want to give similar energy back to you. I don't believe that we should be giving all of our money away to people who would never ever do the same thing for us. I don't believe that the people that teach our children are qualified to do so. I don't believe that. I believe we're qualified to do that. I don't believe that a healthy relationship is ever one where you want them up at level 9 and they only want you at level 1. And what happens in those relationships is you get abused. Literally, they're crapping on you. They're calling you names. They're disrespecting you because they know you're not going to go anywhere. And you're sitting there doing Jennifer Hudson songs. No, 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 no way. I'm living without you. I'm staying. I'm staying. I don't want to be free. That's the black people all instead of the black national anthem, that needs to be our new anthem because some of us are out here literally singing Jennifer Hudson songs, talking about you gonna love me. Right. So first off, if a woman ever sang a song like that to me, I would run for the hills. That is a scary song. That means that she's either gonna have you or she gonna kill you. But then second of all, what in the world would make you ever think that it makes sense to behave that way in front of anyone? Where is your damn self-esteem? Where is your self-love? Where's your self-respect? And that's what we do. We are trained. I think we're trained to be beggars. We're trained to sit there. No, no way. You gonna love me. Like you go, no, 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 no way. I'm living without you. Right. And we take pride in this. I'm not begging nobody for nothing. I think I don't, and it's not an arrogant ego thing. It just it's a self-love thing. I think that if we practice simply loving ourselves as much as we love white people, we would just move like light years ahead as a community. I really do. I think that we really are in love with their validation. We're in love with their acceptance. We're in love with whatever it is that we think that they can give us. And we don't really love ourselves as much. And so so this all spun from the conversation I had with my wife. And I said, a good part of the reason that I love you so much that I would fight for you and that I did fight for you is because I had a sense that you would fight for me, that you loved me, that you wanted me. If you did not want me, then I would not want you because I know that if I go out here and I hold my head up high and I become the best man I can be, that there would be some woman who would be worthy of that love. And I don't know if that I hope that doesn't sound arrogant because it's not meant to be. To me, it's about simple, basic self-respect. I see people in relationships all the time with people who truly don't care about you. But maybe you picked him because you wanted to be married to a surgeon, or maybe you picked her because you wanted to be with the prettiest girl in the room instead of the woman who wanted you the most. I think that those factors need to be considered in every type of relationship. That's a self-esteem thing. That's just a parting thought. And maybe it's on my mind because I was going to read a little bit from my book, Financial Lovemaking. I hope that's okay. I wrote this book a long time ago, so if I say something stupid in here, just know that I was literally 18 years younger than I am right now. But I'm going to read some of this because there is a section on shopaholics or spendaholics. Actually, I call them spendaholics in the book, and I'm going to read this. And by the way, I just want to remind everybody, in case you just came in, today is the first day of the Black Investors Championship. If you'd like to enter the Black Investors Championship and win the Black Investors Cup, which also comes with lifetime access to the Black Business School for the winner, you can go to blackinvestorscup.com. Or if you get on the text list, I will text you a link that will let you join with the entry fee cut by 40%. I think the entry fee is $69 for lifetime access to all the material because we'll give you training materials on how to invest and things like that to go with it. But we will take 40% off and the price drops to $39. So that link will go out later on today. If you want to receive that in via text, just pull out your phone, text the word morning, MORNING, to 87948. Text morning to 87948. And also, I want to remind you the All Black National Convention is going to be October 25th through the 27th in Lombard, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. It's a very nice suburb, very cool area. I went to visit the Hotel the Westin's, very, very fancy. We have about 60 experts from our community coming in all different kinds of areas with the sole objective of solving problems for our community. Everything from health, physical health, mental health. We have mental health experts. We have relationship experts. We have political scientists. We have economists. We have real estate experts. We have people from groups as diverse as the Nation of Islam. We don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, gay, straight, male, female, young, old, rich or poor, educated, uneducated, as long as you're Black first. So if that's who you are and you want to repair our community and build institutions in our community and build the next generation, then that's the convention for you. It's going to be a lot of fun too. We always have the B1 ball. The B1 ball is a lot of fun. So feel free to go to allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. Okay, so let me read this. This is from page 57 in my book, Financial Lovemaking. And I wrote this in 2006 when I was at Syracuse University because I was really fascinated with how love and money are connected. I didn't understand. I never fully processed how me making more money suddenly made me more handsome. I just didn't understand that because I was the same guy when I was a broke graduate student, but when I was making six figures, I noticed a change in terms of how women responded. Like your jokes suddenly are like the funniest jokes ever, and you become like the most interesting man in the world. And it made me study it. It made me just say, wow, this is so crazy. Like you want to sleep with me and you just met me 20 minutes ago. Oh, holy crap, this is nuts. And so anyway, rather than like digging into it in that direction, I decided to study it because that's what I do. I think about things, and I found I was really fascinated by what I found. I found that my belief, for example, is that it is just fundamentally true that generally speaking, women are more attracted to men who can provide security and various forms of security, right? It might be men who are taller on average are more attractive, men who are stronger on average are more attractive, men who are more intelligent, men who are funnier actually, because comedy or the ability to be funny is a type of intelligence. What else? Men who are more powerful, men who are wealthier, things like that, right? It's not always true, right? Sometimes it's not the case, but on average, that tends to be true. So anyway, here's what I wrote about shopaholics, and I was talking about your financial body, and I asked, do you spend like you have no common sense? And I spelled sense CENTS. Let's see what Boyce said. He said this 18 years ago. When I teach personal finance, I love to use a particular term with my students. The term is spendaholic. I use this term because I see overspending to be similar to any other kind of hyperindulgence. Overeating, using drugs, or drinking alcohol. All of these things can be done in moderation, but there are some who do them incessantly. Americans have a horrible problem when it comes to overspending, mainly because our culture is driven by consumption, credit cards, and many other things that can put us into financial jeopardy. And I remember when I wrote this book, I was doing that summer research visit with the Center for European Economic Research. And that was when the German guy pointed out to me that Americans make less, that we make more money than Germans, but they save five times more than we do. And also we spend like crazy. They haven't paid more in taxes. They make less money and pay more in taxes, but they save a lot more than we do because it's a different culture. So it says here, here, a spendaholic is similar to an alcoholic. Answer this questionnaire to determine if you might be a spendaholic. These questions are not meant to embarrass or chastise you. They are simply meant to encourage you to study your own spending habits to see if they can be improved. So give me a yes or no if any of these apply to you. So answer in the chat. Let's have some fun. One, if you have money in your pocket, do you spend till every penny is gone? They call that oversatiation. Does anybody do that? I used to do that a lot. That was my big problem. If money would burn a hole in my pocket, I ain't gonna lie. It still does actually. And I'll tell you how I dealt with that. Two, do you like to shop or spend when you feel bored or emotionally down? That's what they call emotional spending. Three, do you find yourself broke before every paycheck and not sure where all your money went? In parentheses, I call that money binging. Four, do you ever go shopping and eventually spend money without having anything in mind that you want to purchase? That's compulsive spending, where you just go shopping and you don't know what you want. You just know you want to eventually buy something. I do that. I'll walk in and I'll just be thinking, like my wife would be like, what are you looking for? I'll be like, I don't know. I'm just looking for something to jump out at me. Five, if you lost your job today, would you be able to survive on your savings for more than 2 months? If you were to significantly reduce your spending today, would this be any different? Careless spending. Okay, if you were to significantly reduce your spending today, would this be any different? Oh, so if you were to cut your spending, would you be able to survive longer than 2 months? Okay. 6, do you use credit cards for things other than big ticket items? If so, do you take longer than 1 month to repay the balance? And here I have petty spending. That's the definition of petty spending. Do you use credit cards for just a lot of stuff or just for big ticket items? 7, if you run out of cash at the mall, what do? A, go right to the ATM. B, find another source of payment. Or C, stop shopping and go home. And in parentheses, I have negative self-enablement. I have not used that term since I wrote this book, but that's pretty good. I like this. See, I don't know. Well, you could write a book like in 2006 and read the same book in 2024, and I kid you not, it's like somebody else wrote the book. So I'm literally reading this, trying to figure out what Boyce said, just like you are, because I haven't read this book for years. 8, do you find that you frequently feel worse after you spent a lot of money and have nothing left as if you've done something wrong? Do you have spender's guilt? One sign of being a spendaholic or shopaholic is that you feel guilty when you're done. Just like anything else, like if you're an alcoholic or drug addict or a sex addict or something, you do stuff and then later on you're like, damn, I shouldn't have done that. 9, if you could go back in time for 1 year, would you change the amount of money that you spent? Would you do that if you could go back? I would. I'm raising my hand. I'm definitely in that category. To this day, I'm in that category. I ain't gonna lie. It doesn't go away because you never stop being you. Just like they say for drug addicts, like you're never like completely recovered. It's day by day, step by step, and just finding ways to take who you are and channel it in a way that's going to be healthier for you, right? And that's just what it is. Number 10, are you quick to buy things for other people, such as meals, clothing, etc.? And here I call that life of the party spending. Are you the person who always picks up the check? Always buy stuff for other people, like, kind of to big ball a little bit or whatever. I know a lot of us that maybe you went to school and you make more money than other people. You might feel the need to become extra generous. I still do that. I feel embarrassed to go places and ask other people to pay the tab. It's just not. It feels very awkward for me. And to some extent, I'm blessed, so it's okay. But I had to kind of work on that because sometimes you don't want to pay the tab. Sometimes you don't need to keep paying the tab. And yeah, Muna, that's that MC Hammer effect. Because MC Hammer, that's how he lost all of his money. Is he lost a lot of his money for the same reason a lot of athletes and entertainers lose their money, is that he was so generous. He took care of everybody. And they asked him, they said, so what'd you do with all that money? He said, well, I had 100 employees. So he's playing with his beard and he's like, what do you think I did? You think I fed them hamburgers? Or he said, like, do you think I paid them with hamburgers or something like that? Right. And the thing is that I don't knock the generosity at all. I think that Hammer, I think the generosity is fine. But like, if I was to go back in time and I was an advisor to Hammer, what I would say to him is that you have to develop an infrastructure that feeds itself. Like you can't do a charity based model of paying people, like, because if you do, you're going to be trying to dance until you're 70 years old because you got to do a whole lot of dancing to pay 100 people, for the rest of their lives. Because once people start to get money from you, they're dependent on that MC Hammer paycheck. They're dependent on that MC Hammer lifestyle. And when you take that away from them, that's going to be financially traumatic for them. And traumatized people tend to have a trauma response. So that person who was your homeboy, your best friend, you put $1 million in his pocket over a 1 or 2 year period, suddenly you take all that away from him. Sure, his better self might say, well, it's okay, man. You did a lot for me and I appreciate it. A lot of people don't do that. Most people are like, you SOB, you son of a blankety blanket, especially if you're not suffering too. Now, if you're broke and he's broke, then that might be okay. But if he's broke and you're not, like you're still touring and you're still making money and because you just decided to kind of cut some cords, oh, you're going to become public enemy number one. Jamarlin Martin, who started Bossip, he and I had a really good time. We went fishing on a fishing trip, and I like this guy a lot. And I got a chance to talk to him in maybe about 2018 about just all the years where he was building Bossip. And I mean and if you know Bossip, do y'all know Bossip? Is Bossip still a big blog? I don't know if it's even out there. I haven't seen it, I haven't gone to the site or not. But it was back kind of like in the golden era of blogs where this blog was getting millions of views. Kim Kardashian got her start on Bossip. Like she used to call them every day. He was telling me about how Kim would call and ask them to cover to cover whatever scandal she was involved with, because that's all she cared about. She didn't care about whether it was good publicity or bad publicity. She just wanted the publicity. And you see, she converted that into a billion-dollar empire. But anyway, one of the things I remember him talking about was that when the company was on its way up and he was very, very generous to a lot of people, that was all fine. But then when they had to do cutbacks, it became really tough for him because a lot of those very same people he'd helped the most were the ones who were angriest at him. And it wasn't that they hated him. It was that more so that when people lose something that they're dependent on, it's a trauma. It's a trauma for them. It's a financial trauma. My wife did a whole workbook on financial trauma. If you want to go take a look, it's at drboycebooks.com. And when people are traumatized, sometimes they're not going to sit back and be calm and cool and collected. They're going to freak out. Right. So long story short, I think with MC Hammer, that's the risk you have, is that you're being very generous and you're doling out money. And what you're doing is you're doling out dope. You're giving everybody some dope because the dope is soothing, they're soothing their lives and making things better and giving them a feeling of euphoria. Like, oh my God, thank you. I love you. I appreciate you so much. So now you got 100 people that are dependent on you financially. So you got 100 dope addicts, basically, except the dope is just the money. Right. And it's not because they're bad people. It's just that they need that money that you're sending them every week. And it's not an amount that's going to make them just, super happy. It's just enough for them to feel normal. So when you take that away, it's just like taking money away or taking drugs away from an addict who need to get, a shot of heroin every morning or a bottle of liquor every morning or whatever. And so that reaction is literally a withdrawal, so you take the way a dope fiend's dope. He's going to get mad at you. He's going to kick you in your ass. He's not thinking properly because he's feeling off balance in that moment. And I really think that that's what MC Hammer was running into. So what I would say to Hammer is, number one, I would just, first of all, I'd tell him, look, let's not hire anybody for a while. Let's just kind of think about this thing and figure out how we can develop something that's more stable. But then when you hire people, maybe hire them temporarily so that you can manage expectations, so they don't think that you're supposed to take care of them for the rest of their life. And then the third thing I would say is, let's develop some infrastructure. Let's make some investments with this. We got the cash flowing right now. Let's take this money, this cash flow is coming from one source of capital. And the capital is what they call human capital. And it's coming from the fact that there is a really popular man named MC Hammer who gets on stage and dances around the world, and people pay millions of dollars to see him dance. That's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable source of capital. You're going to get old. You're going to be 50 years old. You won't be 50 years old if you're trying to dance like that. You can't even dance like that. It's hard to dance like that at 28 years old. So, I mean, you ever see Hammer dance? Hammer, 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 Hammer. I mean, that man moves. That energy was insane. And so what the goal would be is, okay, we're going to really, really milk this era. We're going to milk the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years or whatever, as long as you're big. But the whole time we're going to be siphoning this cash into a more sustainable form of capital. We're going to start buying into other types of businesses. Maybe they're movie theaters. Maybe it's just buying shares of stock, right? Or whatever, right? Okay, here, there's this company called Apple. The stock is $5 a share. We think this company is going to have a bright future. And then years later, Apple's trading at $200 a share. So you're sitting on millions of dollars in capital that isn't going to get tired, that doesn't have to dance, that isn't going to get old. It's just going to sit there and keep paying people forever. And that's how you develop something that's more sustainable. That's how you develop a recursive ecosystem, right? A feedback loop where so now you've got these people on your team. They're trained, everybody's trained to do their job. They're all being paid well to do their job. And because they're doing their job well, that's bringing more money into the business, right? So you can afford to pay them because you're getting something back. It's not a charity model. Charity is important, but charity will drain you. You can't do charity forever. You can't have a one-way source of wealth for all of eternity because eventually the original source will dry up and then everybody suffers, right? So long story short, I would have probably tried to convince Hammer to take some of that money and make some other investments in some appreciating assets, starting with the very basics: stock market investing, real estate investing, and some limited amounts of entrepreneurship. Nothing crazy. Not we ain't buying your cousin's bowling alley and your aunt Lucy's liquor store. We're not doing all of that. Maybe what we're going to do is develop businesses around the things that we know. Well, what do you know? Well, you know entertainment. Okay, we're going to start the MC Hammer Dance Studio, and we're going to hire a bunch of really great dancers from your team who are going to be teachers in the dance studio, and the whole community is going to come and pay a fee to learn how to dance, just like MC Hammer, whatever it is, right? Just like Alvin Ailey has the his dance troupe, and they've probably made hundreds of millions of dollars all around the world. And I don't even know. Y'all got to tell me, is Alvin Ailey still alive? I don't know if he's even still here. I know his name is big. Is Alvin Ailey still out doing stuff? Does anybody know? I don't know. I don't know. No disrespect. I don't want to kill the man if he's still here. But that name is capital. You understand? The name Alvin Ailey is a source of capital that is feeding hundreds, if not thousands, of people. How cool is that? And it's not just Alvin Ailey's name. I mean, there's a lot of other names. Steve Jobs, what he did with Apple, that's now a $3 trillion company, and Steve Jobs ain't even here. You can keep going to Henry Ford. Ford Motor Company has fed millions of people. And he's been gone for a very long time. Walt Disney, the name Disney, just this summer, 50 years after Walt Disney died, this summer, Walt Disney Corporation had the two biggest movies of the freaking summer, or this week, actually, this past week. They Wolverine and whatever that is from Marvel Studios was the #2 movie, and #1 was Alien, the movie Alien from another studio, the 20th Century Fox that they own. And they have the biggest haul of movie revenue of any major studio on the planet. And this is 50 years after Walt Disney died. Why is that? Well, that's because Walt Disney did something that's really important. He did something that the ancient Egyptians did at a very high level, is that he spent his life planning for that afterlife. When I was in Egypt, I was fascinated by how obsessed the old Egyptian kings and the Nubian kings and all the kings and pharaohs and queens were obsessed with death. And they really planned for death. King Tut, for example, as we saw King Tut's mummy, King Tut only ruled for like 9 years. He wasn't even a ruler that long, but he spent that whole 9 years preparing for the afterlife. So here we are 5,000 years later looking at this kid's mummy. He was a kid, and it's kind of crazy, right? Well, the same thing I think is true when you talk about economic afterlife, right? Just sort of preparing legacy, preparing infrastructure, just saying to yourself, okay, if I'm MC Hammer and I can't dance no more, how am I still going to feed these 100 people? Because they're still going to need to eat, even when my knees have arthritis in them. Well, that's where financial literacy and financial intelligence are not just nice value adds. They're not just nice little add-ons. They can literally become a matter of life and death. It can literally become a matter of, process this. Think about how many people couldn't eat anymore because MC Hammer wasn't selling records like he used to. A lot of people suffered financially because of that, right? So Alvin Ailey died in 1989. Thank you for sharing that. About 10 of y'all shared the year of his death. So thank y'all for giving me the information. Y'all intelligent Black people are the best. So yes, he died in 1989. I was actually a senior in high school that year. That's how long ago that was. And so even though this man died, what's 89 is 35 years ago, I guess. He's still, they're still making millions of dollars from his name because there was an infrastructure put in place. See, infrastructure and a process and a system will always outlive an individual. A system can work harder than an individual. A system is typically smarter than an individual. So when I talk to you all and we go into our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program for children, and I explain to you what kind of children you need to build, I've given you a simple blueprint that if every family applies this, then you're talking about $1 trillion legacy that's being built over time. This is that it goes back to sturdy. Remember, we talked about sturdy children, STERDY. Sturdy, the S in sturdy stands for systems. You want children that can think in terms of systems. The T stands for technology, E stands for entrepreneurship, R stands for relationships, and D stands for delegation. The Y stands for the youth. If we have sturdy children, then you can build empires. You're not going to have rappers who have 5 good years and then everybody goes broke. You'll have rappers that can parlay 5 good years into 500 good years, or at least into 50 good years, because they understand the importance of developing infrastructure. Black leadership comes and goes because there's no infrastructure. Martin Luther King gets shot, the whole movement's done. Malcolm X gets shot, movement's done. Umar Johnson doesn't survive past tomorrow. We don't have King Kong consciousness. All that stuff is gone. He's just another dead black man. But if you have systems and infrastructure, like for example, the Anti-Defamation League can't die. Nobody can kill it. They wouldn't know who to assassinate if they ever decided to do that, because it's a system. It's an institution. They've got infrastructure. Do you understand? So what you want to do if you're building that legacy is I encourage you to think in terms of infrastructure. If you do that, then you've got a chance to live forever. You can do what the ancient Egyptians did and have people literally benefiting from your labor for the next 100, 200 years. And the beauty of it too, that's amazing, is that you literally are liberating people that are not even born yet. If you just think about, if you were able to, if we were all disciplined enough, for example, to just buy some shares of stock and never sell them and hold that in the family for the next 50 years, that will be enough to buy an apartment building for your great grandchild. That's enough for somebody to never have to work for anybody. My wife bought her first house from World War II savings bonds that her great grandfather bought in 1942. Do you understand? That's what, so there is no U in sturdy. Sturdy spelled STERDY, and it's from our Black Millionaires of Tomorrow program. We have a whole financial literacy program for children, which literally the guarantee is that when your child goes through the program, if they take the self-study exams and they get their certificate, they will have a financial literacy level that exceeds the average college educated adult. That is our guarantee. And if you don't feel that way, then let us know. We'll give you your money back. But if you want to go take a look, you can go to blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. That's blackmillionairesoftomorrow.com. So sturdy is an acronym, STERDY, and that's what I talk about all the time, because if you develop that kind of thinking, economically speaking, then that's a type of consciousness that takes you to the next level, where it's not just, I'm going to try to be a successful Negro by getting me a fancy job and living in a nice neighborhood. Who cares about that? And I'm sorry, no disrespect, but no, the world don't really care a whole lot about your master's degree. The whole world don't care a whole lot about the fact that Mr. Charlie gave you a good job. Nobody cares if you got an Oscar or a Grammy. Nobody really cares about that. And it's not because it doesn't matter. I get it. I got the degrees and I got the fancy jobs and I've had all that. But if something happens to you, if you're dead, if you stop breathing tomorrow, then everything you've accomplished is gone. All that labor, all that energy you put into making yourself into whatever you are, because you live in America where rugged individualism is celebrated, and we're told to celebrate ourselves and invest in ourselves. The biggest investment is the investment I made in me. I remember when I used to hang out with Dame Dash. He used to talk about that all the time. I'm going to invest in me. I'm going to invest in me and do this for me, me. I said, man, you sound like an opera singer. Me. Like, why is everything me? How come it can't be we and us? I don't want to invest everything in me. In order for me to invest in me, I need to properly invest in you. Because me and you becomes we, and we is 100 times bigger than me. Sure, I worked hard. I did all that. I got the degrees and I went to school and I know a whole lot of stuff. But if I walk outside that door and get hit by a milk truck, then everything I've worked for is gone. The only part of me that will survive is the part of me that I converted into we. So I know that the we will outlast the me any day of the week. Do you understand what I'm saying? I know that if something happens to me, I'm not worried about something happening to me because we got we. I know that I've been able to, over 15, 20 years, talk to about 10, 20 million people who are going to take something that they learned from me and it's going to survive. It's a win. It's a win for us. So what happens to me doesn't matter. I don't, when I figured that out and began that process of really pouring into other people as much as I could, and doing the same strategy that I would kind of, would have loved to help MC Hammer sort of do. That was when I no longer had a fear of death. I wasn't afraid of death anymore. I'm not afraid to die because the we has become so big that the me is not that important. Sure, I'm still part of the process. Sure, absolutely. But if I was gone tomorrow, there's certain ideas and principles and philosophies that I know that you all have embraced that you're never going to unlearn. Now your kids know it. Your grandkids know it. You've been talking to people about it for 10, 15 years. So me doesn't matter anymore. Now me has become we, and they can't kill that. They can't kill the we. They can only kill the me. So I don't sit around saying, "Oh, what if they come and assassinate me like they did Booker T. Washington, or take me down like Marcus Garvey's." That stuff doesn't bother me. I have a job to do. And I would say the same thing is true for any of you, all of you. A lot of you are super talented. You've got so many great things you've worked on. You have so much knowledge you have so much skill, so much possibility and potential. Try to make sure you turn that me into a we, and don't fall for the me philosophy that exists in America, because the me is why so many people are struggling, why so many people are losing, why our country is not becoming the country that it needs to be. If you want to know why China is becoming so strong, it's because China understands this. China says me don't matter. It's the we. We are what matters, not you. You're an individual. So doing everything by yourself is not really going to get you what you're looking for, because I hate to break it to you, but at some point you're going to die. We're all going to die. And so the best thing we can do while we're here is enjoy the present, really pour into it with reckless abandon, fearlessness. I believe deeply in that. I believe in relentless fearlessness in terms of pursuing whatever purpose you believe God gave you. And then making sure that you're passing that baton so that everything that you have, everything you work for, everything you becomes something that's bigger than just you. That's consciousness. That's financial consciousness. That's it. I'm done. Um, so yeah, so I finished reading that part from my book, Financial Lovemaking. If anybody wants to go get a copy, you can go to drboycebooks.com. And it's the subtitle of Financial Lovemaking is merging assets with your partner in ways that feel good. So I actually say I want to apologize in advance for any weird or freaky stuff I said in the book. I think I talked about financial threesomes and stuff like that, just trying to be funny. But that was me at 35 years old, so I'm a different man now. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. And also a reminder, the Black Investors Championships have started. They start today. So if you'd like to still participate, just get on the text list. I'll send you a link where you can join. And then after today is shut off. We can't take any more entrants. And you can start buying stock right now. The markets are open right now. So go ahead and jump in, start buying your stock. The URL is blackinvestorscup.com. That's blackinvestorscup.com. But if you get on the text list, I'll send you a link where you can join. And it cuts down the price of the fee and everything for you. So feel free to get on the text list. Text morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948, and I will send you the link this afternoon. And that's pretty much it. So have a good day.